It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, he is Eric Harley and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here this morning. He's Eric Harley and I'm Gary McNamara. Hi. Did I say that already?
I don't know. I don't listen to the show.
I was reading the article about the high school runner at the center of that controversy.
Yeah.
Made national headlines. Brookville High School junior Kaylin Tucker was hit, it looks like in the head, by the baton from fellow competitor Alayla Everett during a 4x200-meter relay event at a state-level track meet last week. Scene caught it on vehicle. The Lynchburg Commonwealth's Attorney Office has now charged Everett with one count of assault and battery. And you look at it, and again, she's claiming that she just slipped on it. She was behind a little bit, and you see her strike it forward. Is her arm movement? This is going to be a tough case to prove. But let's put it this way: even if she did do it on purpose, she claims she did not. Then shouldn't a ton of hockey players be in jail?
Well, or
am I wrong on that?
Or are the fans getting what they want? Finally, season tickets.
Finally, we've got some violence in track.
Exactly.
that's what it's needed,
right? Come on, let's throw some punches in swimming.
I go to track meets to see the fights.
Yeah, right. Now, if Michael Phelps deliberately splashed his opponent, it was right in my face. I could have drowned.
Well, I look at it, I think if you're boxing and you hit below the belt, should that be an assault charge?
Well,
I think so.
Hey, I'm going to get a lawyer as soon as I can stand up again.
I can't tell because the one angle, especially from the back, it looks like she's losing her balance.
Yeah. Okay.
And goes to throw her arm forward and hits her. I don't know. I can't. But the first time I saw it, I went, oh, that's an assault. Then the second time I looked at it, I went, oh, I don't know. But the next thought was, well, then, if that's the case, a heck of a lot of hockey players should be charged by that district attorney's office.
Because you can pretty much see the intent when it comes to a fight that breaks out on the ice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or slashing somebody with a stick, using your stick or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still have it. I still talk about one time I were playing, backyard hockey. And my buddy Jeff and I still talk about it. We must have been 13, 14 years old. I stole the puck from him. He took his stick, and he just took it and wailed the back of my leg.
Oh.
I can still feel it today. Wow. I'm going to tell him that under that, the Commonwealth's decision here, that he would be charged with assault and should have gone to jail for life for hurting his best friend.
Yeah.
I think it's the only fight we ever got into. It was a hockey fight. Oh, I can still remember how much that hurt. You know how it feels? I had nothing on the back of my leg.
Right.
And it hit the calf, and it was just in the hockey stick. Whap! Oh.
Well, there was I was at a game, actually, saw this happen. The guy with the bat, and then he's at bat.
No way.
And he was walked. Well, he goes with his left hand to toss the bat over toward the dugout. Well, the guy had a pretty good arm. That bat just kept going, and it didn't go to the dugout. It went to third base.
Oh,
yeah. So
was it on purpose? Or
no.
Okay.
It was clear he was trying to get it over to the dugout. But I mean, he just a little too much power and not enough aim, basically. But, man, it was like, wow. First of all, if that guy could pitch with that arm. Second of all, yeah, a little bit of a ruckus on the field. Yeah, so.
It's funny, though, how I could look at it the first time I saw it and went, well, obviously that's an assault. And then I saw it from behind and went, oh, she looks like she might be losing her balance. And she was in tears crying, saying, I lost my balance. I'm like, how would I make the judgment on that one?
Yeah.
That's, wow. That'd be interesting to see if they go forward with it or.
Yeah, I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, is there some kind of history between the two athletes that they can demonstrate?
That's a great point. Yeah.
You know,
you're right.
Some kind of comments on social media or comments there at the event itself leading up to that. You know, that's how you would determine intent, you know, if you're going to prosecute. So,
yeah. We were in the locker room before and she said she was going to get me.
Right. That kind of thing.
And then she did.
Right.
That would be evidence at that point.
Right.
All right. I want to play. Let's start out with this audio cut from MSNBC.
Okay.
Just to show you, you want, and this is a lie, because, well, I'm just going to play it, and you can listen to it. We'll analyze it afterwards. This is, and the headline is MSNBC justifies violence against Tesla as a form of protest, not domestic terror. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
All right.
But then you also overnight have this post claiming that protests at Tesla dealerships are illegal. He said today he would label violence against dealerships domestic terrorism. Now, you know I am judicious in how I play this sound, but I think you need to hear it from him.
Mr. President talks about some of the violence that's been going on around the country at dealerships. Some say they should be labeled domestic terrorists.
I will do that. I'll do it. I'm going to stop them. We catch anybody doing it because they're harming a great American company. Let me tell you, you do it to Tesla and you do it to any company, we're going to catch you and you're going to go through hell.
So just to be clear, you protest a private company, you are labeled by this administration a domestic terrorist. But then you
Now,
What?
I know. She's saying if you protest,
Did you just hear her just totally blow over the whole, destroy property thing?
yeah.
Wow.
Because here, let's listen. And the question again is they say about the violence,
Right.
the violence, which is the destruction of the Teslas,
Right.
And Trump says, yeah, we're going to go after them,
Right.
and she calls it a form of protest.
Right.
Let's play it again so you can hear how she starts it up. Here we go.
But then you also overnight have this post claiming that protests at Tesla dealerships are illegal. He said today he would label violence against dealerships domestic terrorism.
Now, again, she says
Violence.
protest, and then she says violence. So she's making the case that violence is legitimate legal protest.
Right.
Does she even know she's doing that?
Well, the radicals believe that. The radicals believe that violence is legitimate protest. So the question is she one of the radicals? She said violence.
Destruction, yeah, exactly. She's using it. I mean, it's destruction of property.
Right.
It's arson.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's...
And it fits a definition, behavior involving, because normally violence people view as seeking to hurt another person, right? But it's behavior involving physical force intended to hurt, damage, or kill someone or something.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and damage to property is included in it. So it fits the legal term of violence.
Right.
And so she's saying that is a form of protest. Unbelievable.
You just heard it. He's going to go after people who are protesting. She herself used the word violence.
I know.
And still just blew right past it.
I got to find the entire audio to see how the liberal panelist answered that. Because that's really incredible.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Right.
Isn't that that's like junior high stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
because any adult would say, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So
I
that's
can't
my
believe in
response.
America you can't even set anything on fire in a protest anymore.
Eric, my name is Rosie O'Donnell, and I'm leaving because these people's right to protest and burn other people's property and other people's cars is being infringed. Their rights are being infringed. I'm going to Ireland.
You know, the radicals are just, they don't know how to stop being radical. They don't know how to wind any of that down.
Wow.
Because the question would be, do you really believe that? Because if you're saying, well, if you go to a dealership, it's a large company that's going to pay for it, so they have insurance and you're not hurting anybody.
Wow, then
I'm waiting for that.
I'm going to rob a bank.
Exactly.
Let's go out and rob a bank. It's my form of protest against evil capitalism. And remember, I'm doing it against those evil banks.
I'm going to protest them being rich by trying to get a little money for myself.
Right. Well, wasn't that what Bragg was doing? Remember when he first became the DA in New York?
Yeah.
And he wanted to put, remember, that he was not going to prosecute anybody who committed an armed robbery with a gun as long as you didn't shoot the gun.
Right.
It would not be a felony. It'd be a misdemeanor.
Right.
Isn't that
It's insane.
Because it's a form of protest against the man.
Right. Well, in
who are you protesting?
And
large corporations? No, the man.
A healthcare CEO is gunned down on the street.
Assassinated.
And they spend all their time justifying it.
Yep.
On the left.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
AOC tried to explain it away.
Yep.
Well, people, if their claims are denied, they see that as violence. Well, how about the whole murder part? Is that violence? No, that's protest.
Wow.
That's who they are.
That's how they think.
That's how radical people are today. It is insane. But because it's Tesla, because it's Elon Musk, because it's Trump saying what he's going to do, of course, it's justified.
I've got another beautiful piece of audio coming up next because it's just great. It's actually about maybe it's about less than a week old. I can't remember.
All right.
I remember seeing it. We just never got a chance to play it. And there's a ton of audio we got to play between now and tomorrow to get out of here for the week. But this one is just beautiful because you're like, huh? What are you talking about? That's already happened.
Right.
And what are we talking about? You'll find out next. 866-90-RED-EYE.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
The recap of the winter of 2024-25, December, January, and February from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration.
We are seeing that it was our 27th warmest winter out of 130 years, going all the way back to 1895-96.
And while USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey notes the bitter cold experienced by much of the country in the first 2 months of this year, making it the coldest winter in the past 4 seasons.
We had a very, very warm December, helping to drive that number.
In terms of dryness nationwide during this past winter,
it was also the 20th driest winter in that 130-year period. Precipitation across the lower 48 states averaged just a little under 6 inches during the December, January, February time period, and that was almost an inch below the 20th century average.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Friday Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up on the bottom of the hour, Republicans respond to the Democrats who say, nope, not going to pass a continuing resolution. But first, this audio cut. This is from Jon Stewart here in the last week. He was doing an interview on Apple TV. Did you see it?
No.
Oh, okay. This is great. As he talks about the media, and this was posted by Brett Weinstein, who said, honest question, is Jon Stewart being deliberately obtuse? Here we go. Listen.
So you're saying if you have a media machine that purposefully lies to its people to maintain a political fiction and get themselves power, that is the hallmark of an authoritarian system, not a democratic system?
Absolutely.
Well, if we were ever to get something like that in the United States, we would be horrified, furious to know that there was an entire media organization designed to bend reality, to manipulate facts, to maintain power. It would, if I may, and I'm not trying to slam Hungary.
Okay, I don't want to get into any profanity he says there, but he's going after Hungary for that, saying if that happened in the United States, it did happen in the United States.
Right.
We saw it happen.
Well, and
Brett
the point,
Weinstein, is he being deliberately obtuse?
Because it sounds like he's going out of his way to demonstrate that it actually has happened. Whether he is or not, I think we can all agree.
No, he's stating that it couldn't happen in the United States. It did. That's the point.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. By making that point, and he did it over and over again, he's actually making the point that it did.
Yeah.
You know, and we can all look back at the 4 years under Biden. Oh, my gosh. Look at 2016. Has any of the liberal activist media admitted that the whole Russian collusion thing was a hoax? Officially, without leaving the newspaper? You know, I bring up that because, you know, Barry Weiss is no longer at the New York Times. But has anyone in the leftist media actually admitted that the Russian collusion thing was a hoax?
And that Hillary was behind it.
Right. Because I haven't seen that. I don't know if I missed that. I thought, you know, I'd think I wouldn't miss something like that where they would come out and admit the whole thing. You know, after the Wall Street Journal piece on Biden and that he's really not all there in December, now more and more the liberal activist media is admitting, oh, yeah, well, okay, well, I guess we didn't see it or we underreported it or blah, 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 blah. Jake Tapper writes a book, the covering up of all of it and that. But did that happen with the Russian hoax?
I just put a Google in on it. I don't see it anywhere.
Because,
you know, and what they, here it is. Okay, this is from 2018. Trump's Russia hoax turns out to be real. Because what they did was, if you remember, what they did was come out and say, Trump says there's a Russian hoax. No, there isn't, because they attempted to influence, you know, the social media.
Right.
That's not what Trump said was a Russian hoax.
Right.
The Russian hoax was the dossier.
Right.
And so, no, I don't know. I don't know if they've ever did. I don't remember. That's why I Googled it to see if maybe Politico or somebody admitted it or the Hill.com.
Yeah, I mean, if someone wrote
whatever.
one piece here or there, but I haven't seen that in any big way. And the point being is they never gave up on that.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Welcome. Let's play this audio cut from Speaker Mike Johnson after they found out the Democrats and Schumer going to fight the continuing resolution. They don't want to vote for it. Here was the Republicans' response.
They're planning to vote down this simple bill. They are going to try to shut the government down. Every House Democrat will participate in this, it looks like. That would be a shame if it's true. I hope some of them will have a moment of clarity themselves and do the right thing, but it looks like they're going to try to shut down the government. It's a striking new posture for Democrats who have always said they've just been apoplectic about the prospect of government shutdowns. I put a video out about an hour ago on social media. I encourage you to go see that. They have been their own words. You don't need to trust us on this. But Catherine Clark, here's one little zinger from her, quote, "Not only is it irresponsible and purposefully misleading, but it's also a dangerous precedent to be threatening a shutdown," unquote. Now remember, this is in last year, years past. Pramila Jayapal, quote, "The tragedy here is all the civilian employees. It's the employees who are going to suffer," unquote. AOC, quote, "It is not normal to hold 100,000 workers' paychecks hostage. It is not normal to shut down the government when we don't get what we want," unquote. I don't think I've ever agreed with her before. She's exactly right. Jerry Nadler said, quote, "Shutdown is really an extremist policy designed to appeal to an extremist base and hold the whole country hostage." Yeah, we agree. So they and all their colleagues need to do the right thing. Democrats have been insisting they're fighting for federal workers. You're about to see, again, on vivid display, very clear the contrast. You will see one team that is working to fund the government and make sure we do the responsible thing. And you're going to see another posing a CR because they've now exposed the truth. They're not for federal workers. They're not for anyone. All the people they've said in the past that are going to be harmed would be by their votes. They're using federal employees as props. They're using Medicaid benefits and Social Security checks as cudgels in this thing. The threat of government shutdown, they're using it as some sort of attempt to wrestle power away from the President of the United States, who overwhelmingly won the popular vote, the Electoral College, in every single swing state. Here's the bottom line. If congressional Democrats refuse to support this clean CR, they will be responsible for every troop who misses a paycheck, for every flight delay from reduced staffing at TSA, for every negative consequence that comes from shutting down the government.
There you go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
It's, it is the back and forth. And, I can't imagine that any of these Democrats we want to be seen as hypocrites. But they are going to be very proactive in this shutdown. You're not going to get any of them on board. I don't know what changes. I don't know what happens between now and the Friday. So the question is always, how much does it resonate with the American people? Is it the political football and everybody just kind of compartmentalizes the entire situation that way every time? They'll get around to it.
Here's my question. The Democrats are in such incredible trouble. I mean, there's just a ton of Democrats writing about it right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In the media saying, my God, they've got nothing together. Absolutely nothing. They're collapsing, that they have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Let's close it down. We don't care. We can't go
any further.
We cannot go any lower.
Yeah.
We have a 20% approval rating.
Yeah.
Does it matter if we drop to 12 or 10?
Nah.
And we're not going to drop.
Mayor Brandon in Chicago would say no.
And we're not going to drop because if it's a budget it's a continuing resolution Trump wants, we'll keep our 20%.
Yeah.
It's the old 20% rule. When you get down to 20%, does it matter anymore? That's the question that I would ask. They are in such desperate shape. We read the article yesterday where it was Democrats talking about, the survey being done by Democrats, that our party doesn't stand for anything. We don't even know what they stand for. Mm-hmm. We're Democrats and don't know what they stand for anymore. Now, the Republicans were ready for this. I mean, immediately Johnson was out, and they figured this was a possibility. And so what they're just going to market over and over again is we've passed it. Democrats are trying to shut it down.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you sit there and you think, all right, let's say it's shut down Friday. And by Wednesday of next week, the first poll is out. Well, 65% of the country believes that the Democrats are trying to shut down the government, and 35% believe it's the Republicans. Well, Democrats would view that as a victory. We got 35% that are standing by us. We only got 20% now.
Right. Yeah. Take what you can get.
And you think I'm being sarcastic, and I'm not. There's a serious point. I'm not trying to do a 51st state kind of thing with Canada here.
Mm-hmm.
I really think that they look at it and go, what can we lose? We've got to fight back some way. The Democrats don't like Doge, so we're going to say this is the Doge budget, even if it's not. Even if the complaint from Republicans is, this isn't a Doge budget, why not?
Yeah.
Democrats are still going to say it's a Doge budget. And we believe we can get more approval. All they're looking to get on any issue is more approval than 20% or 21%, which is their current favorability rating with the American public. That means they can take a heck of a lot of unpopular positions that will get 30% of the public behind them.
They can actually improve their numbers.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And so that's the one thing in the back of my head. I'm like, well, why would they do this? Oh, I know why. They're at 21%. Can't go any lower.
Right.
All right. Politico saying Rahm Emannuel is running for president.
Well,
I wasn't surprised by that, by the way. I wasn't surprised.
No.
We didn't pick him because he's been on the limelight and didn't know that, nobody really knew that he was interested in running, but it makes total sense.
I thought he was probably working on something, either a Netflix show or running for president.
Well,
I didn't think that he was done, I guess is the point.
Right. Well, I say I'm not surprised, not based on that it's Rahm Emannuel and that, he was an advisor to Obama and then mayor of Chicago.
Yeah, the king of Chicago for a while. Yeah.
That's not why. It's that he was one of the first to publicly say the Democrats have gone too far.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the first to say it. Now, I believe he is the type of politician that will say anything to get elected, and he's been out of it for a while, and he can promote that he was, part of the Obama administration. I was part of the Obama administration, and we all loved what he did, and you unify, use the Obama name, and you look at the fact of he has a very limited political history, when you look at it more of advisor than politician, except for the city of Chicago, and that he's the guy that can pretend to move to the middle and have some legitimacy in doing so. That's what I believe he thinks.
Yeah. Right.
Now, whether it's true or not, whether he can actually pull it off, I don't know.
Well,
but he's got to be looking at it and say, Gavin Newsom can't do that. Gavin's trying to do that with his podcast, but that's not going to cut it. Yeah. I can do it because nobody else can. It's so bad that I believe I can win.
Yeah, he may believe that, but he, like Gavin, is exposed to this blue bubble or been living in this blue bubble that he has to step out of. And that's the real test on the grand scale. But he was one of those that said identity politics is not working for us.
Yes.
Years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is you got to get through the primary. And in the primary, you got to be full-on radical. In fact, in the general season, you got to be somewhat radical these days. You can't come back to the middle. So I don't know.
The only reason that I would say things have changed is because the Democratic Party was behind Harris in her attempt to co-opt all the things that Trump was in favor of. Mm-hmm. And they were still willing, well, not all came out to vote for her, but a significant portion were willing to come out and vote for her, even though she was saying she could be tougher on the border than Trump, because they all knew she was lying about it. Mm-hmm. Rahm Emannuel isn't part of any of those groups that have run for president, any of those characters that have run for president, and he thinks that he can pull it off by pretending to go to the middle and wink, wink, nudge, nudge, that by the time 28-28 comes around, Democrats will be so desperate, even on the far left, that he'll be much more palatable than he might have been just a couple of months ago.
Well, we can look at the real situation. He's, number one, he's not a moderate. The question is the party ready to go back to someone who can pretend to be a moderate and then effectively get into office and do radical things? This has been their tactic in the past, and we've heard them say these things. Well, we need to change. We need to change what we're talking about. We need to. Well, what they're not saying we need to change our position on issues. They're saying we need to change how we promote what we believe on issues, which is to say we need to lie more. We need to lie like we did back in the day. And so is the party believing that a Rahm Emannuel could come in and say, look, I'm not this, I'm not that. You know, this is what America believes and blah, 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 blah. But then when he gets in, he can pull out his radical agenda.
One of the things you saw about Trump when people didn't want to vote for him the last time was it was just too exhausting. There's too much hitting people all the time. It seemed like insanity. Mm-hmm. You have Republicans saying this right now. Why can't Trump? He does so many great things, but some of the other stuff, he's not making sense. And there's drama every day. Now, his base is sticking behind him, and the independents are sticking behind him right now because he's had great successes. After 4 years, will the public do the same thing that they did before, which was, we need a steady, calm influence, and Rahm Emannuel is that. We don't need that radical vice president, J.D. Vance. Mm-hmm. We need a calming influence on America now, and will independents fall for that? Because that's where you win. You win with independents, and independents can be very, very fickle.
Well, especially if the Democrats take the midterm.
Yeah.
Then that gives momentum to, well, everybody on the left, but certainly opens the door to that idea that, all right, look, let's get somebody in here who can pose as a moderate, but understands what the actual agenda is. He was Obama chief of staff and advisor for the first 2 years for Obama, so he knows that. Mayor of Chicago. He knows radical, but he also knows what you can get away with in terms of what you're promoting. Because, again, it was years ago, several years ago, that he was one of those Democrats that was saying identity politics is not working for us. And so there may be some thought to that.
Goes ahead and practices it anyway.
Of course. It's not what you say, it's what you do, and we know the wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We need somebody up there who can come off as a moderate, get elected as a moderate, and go to work.
866-90-RED-I.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-I on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's our Carly. I'm Gary McNamara. I saw that Senator Thune said, okay, we're going to go ahead, cloture vote tomorrow. Democrats, if you want to vote against it, vote against it. So
right.
We'll see what happens here and whether the government shuts down. Rand Paul already said, what have we got, 53? They need 60 to get it through cloture. Rand Paul already said he's not
on board. Right.
So that's 52.
Right.
And his response was exactly what we thought you might get from a few out there, which is, okay, this doesn't represent what we're being told Doge is cutting. And if Doge is cutting and nobody's benefits are being hurt, and it's $4 billion a day. We're not even making an attempt to start the cut yet.
Right.
And the explanation back, we heard Mark Wayne Mullins say, well, we're halfway through the year already. So much of money's been spent. Get this thing done, and we start it in October.
Yeah.
Or in projection of the reconciliation bill over a period of years.
They need to get their messaging in order. Left hand and right hand need to know what's going on. Guess we'll see what the Democrats do in the Senate.
Yep.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.